Hi everyone, Cinemaster here with a review of the new Mirai Guardian MX. The Guardian MX is a new variant of the Guardian Heavy Fighter series, built as a shorter range, heavier armed version. The MX is about the same size as the base Guardian at 16.5 meters wide, 25 meters long and 9 meters high, but has thicker wings. The crew is still just one pilot. The cockpit has very good visibility because it's a bubble cockpit, but the wings do block your vision in the four corners. The MX does have a special armor covering that can be enabled over the cockpit to provide extra protection from a pilot insta-kill, but there are issues with the armor. I notice it turns off briefly right after you finish quantum travel, so it blocks your view until it turns on the display. So I recommend turning off the armor when using quantum travel and only turn it on in combat. That could just be a bug in the current version though. The pilot can also enter and exit the cockpit from a seat elevator just under the cockpit, just like in the other variants. This makes it quicker to enter the ship and start flying instead of entering from the rear. The pilot seat also turns around for the pilot to access the rest of the ship. The MX removes all the living quarters in the other variants to have stronger shields and power plants. So that does limit the player from long distance travel. There is no bed, bathroom, or kitchen. If there's internal inventory access, I couldn't find it either. Because of that, the interior of the ship is much plainer than other variants. You still have the component access points all along the interior, plus an engineering panel. One benefit of the emptiness is that you can fit one SCU containers inside the ship, just without any cargo panels, so the boxes may roll around a bit when flying around. The very rear of the ship still has a gun rack for small and medium guns, as well as a suit locker. There is also the rear elevator, again with space enough for a one SCU box. The Guardian MX also has external inventory storage for the player on the starboard lower wing in front of the cockpit. There is storage of up to 450k micro SCU. On the other wing is a gun rack for some small and medium guns. The MX has two medium-sized 2 shields rather than just one shield on the other variants. It also has higher hull and armor than the other variants, about a quarter more strength. The double shields combined with the extra armor and hull strength makes the MX a very tough fighter to take down, but it does give the ship extra mass, making it a little bit more sluggish than other models. The MX is just slightly slower than the base Guardian at 208 meters a second in SCM speed and 1100 meters a second in nav mode. It is also slightly less maneuverable than the base Guardian as well. Like all Guardians, it has the big rotating engines that double as VTOL engines as needed. The MX has the same fuel capacity as the base Guardian with 9 SCU of hydrogen fuel and 1.8 SCU of quantum fuel, but the extra mass of the MX makes it use the fuel up faster than the base Guardian, so be prepared to refuel your hydrogen fuel more often. The MX is slightly larger than the other variants and doesn't fit in any current carrier ships like the Polaris or Idris, which limits it further from long-distance combat without living quarters of its own. The big difference with the MX from other variants are the weapons. The MX changes out the 2 size 5 guns for 4 size 4 guns, which are Rhino laser repeaters. It's slightly less damage, but more guns firing at once. It's better for attacking agile fighters than the base Guardian, but less damaging against larger targets. 4 size 4 guns are still a lot of firepower for a single pilot. These guns are also more forward on the wings, so you can gimbal them slightly more in all directions than the base Guardian. The MX also has a size 2 power plant instead of 2 size 1 power plants in other variants, so that provides more power for the weapon capacitors and shields. The MX also has more missiles than the other Guardians. It has 24 size 2 missiles in custom missile racks, which is a huge amount. You can't change out the missile launchers like the other Guardians, though, so you're stuck with size 2 missiles. These missiles are great against fighters, but not as useful against larger targets with tougher shields. Also note that the missile launchers are aimed up in a 45-degree angle, so if you try to dumbfire the missiles, they will fly up in the air instead of forward, so make sure to get a lock on your targets before firing your missiles. The Guardian MX runs for $290 in store credit and $270 war bond, both in time-limited sales. The MX is not available to buy in-game, but should be available soon in the future patch 4.2 or near to it. The MX comes default with a gray and white paint, but you can use any Guardian paints on the MX. Just keep in mind the paints on the MX might look different than the other variants. Some paints may have logos on some variants and not on the MX and vice versa. The Concierge members can buy the gray and gold Sovereign paint or the green, black and red Harlequin paint. All members can buy the tan and brown Peninsula paint, the matte black Blackout paint, the black and red Burnout paint, the tan and gray Desert Dusk paint, and finally the shiny red, gray and white Red Skies paint. That's my favorite one. The Guardian MX is a dedicated short-range heavy fighter, optimized for taking down small and medium-sized ships, especially fighters. The heavy shields and armor protects it from the weapons of light fighters and small guns. The quad-size 4 guns and missiles can easily destroy other fighters or smaller ships. The stronger power plant gives the MX more capacitor power for the guns, so they can fire longer, which is good when you have 4 guns firing at once. You can also use the MX for gunship duties. The many guns and missiles are great for clearing landing zones or ground targets. The engines are good for keeping the ship hovering over a target too. Just don't use dumbfire on the missiles or you will miss. Make sure to get a lock on first. The large quantity of missiles on the MX also make it a good support vessel as a missile boat. It can be used alongside fleets to swarm targets with size 2 missiles. The heavy shields and armor allow it to stay protected in a fleet while launching missiles to drop the shields of other ships, and to make it easier to destroy them. You can use the missiles to help break blockades for other cargo ships to get through. The emptier interior means there is more space for storing 1 SCU boxes in the ship, so you can use it to loot small targets or underground facilities, especially if you bring empty containers with you to store the gear you find. The Guardian MX has a thicker appearance to other Guardian variants with wider wings and hull, so it looks like a meaner ship. That's not a bad thing when attempting to intimidate other ships. The extra cockpit shield also helps keep you safe, while the updated HUD in this variant improves visibility. All of these features make the MX very useful for single players, pirate orgs, mercenary orgs, and civilian law enforcement groups, especially those doing nearby patrols. The Guardian MX does have its drawbacks though. The lack of living quarters is the big issue, as that will prevent players from logging out when far away from stations or keeping hygiene up. You'll have to return to a home location at the end of the day. The higher fuel usage also means the MX will have to refuel more often, meaning returning home often or else having a friend with a refueling ship nearby. The other issue is the heavier weight means the MX is slower than many other fighters, both in forward speed and in maneuverability. That can make catching up to targets harder unless they are much slower ships. Also, light fighters can get behind you to try to damage your ship. The extra shields and armor can help, but it's best not to fight light fighters alone. Take a buddy to watch your back. Finally, the custom missile launchers mean you cannot change them to handle different scenarios. For example, you can't put larger size 3 or 4 missiles on the ship, which are better able to punch through heavier ship shields or damage stronger ships. You can't put in larger quantities of smaller size 1 missiles either, which are very good against light fighters. You also cannot put in any of those gravity bombs either. But even with that, 24 size 2 missiles will still do significant damage to other ships, so they aren't bad. All in all, the Guardian MX is a good combat ship for short-range heavy combat, and it looks very sleek. It would be a great ship for anyone's fleet. Alright, so that's it for the Mirai Guardian MX review. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. You can use my referral code if you decide to jump in as Star Citizen, and you'll get 5,000 extra in-game credits. And you save more if you get one of the starter packs that are on sale during the month. Here's a big thank you to my current patrons. Please check out my Patreon membership to help me make more videos. All patrons and members will have their names listed at the end of my videos and get access to my Discord channel. Patrons and members will also have a first pick on the next item I will cover, so feel free to sign up and let me know what you'd like to see next. Okay, catch you all next time.